is last year's version of the iPad, so that really isn't all that good. You have your Santa gifts are the candy canes and the Lifesavers sweet storybook kind of stuff, and you want to set the expectations, higher expectations for yourself and your performance and your achievement and all the things that, like Peter said, you've achieved a lot and you're able to give good gifts now, give more expensive gifts now, but that and you then now are not stressing so much about what you can buy for people. You now have that extra day that you and your wife can drive around and look at Christmas lights, and that's what really matters, is the spending the day looking at Christmas lights and being able to feel good within yourself about the gifts you're buying for other people. I just think it's more about finding a way to be content, and contentment seems to be a word that people don't like anymore, because they feel like if you're content, then you're settling and you're not achieving anymore, or you're not striving, or you're not a go-getter, you're not a type A person if you're content. It's a bad thing. And we've lost a lot in losing the idea that contentment is actually a good thing.
Well, I mean, the basic question for people is this: do you respond to the weather in your life? I mean, if it's rainy, you're down. If it's sunny, you're happy. If the gifts aren't good, you're down. If the gifts are great, you're happy. You know, if things go your way, you know, are you just a roller coaster in life, or do you carry your weather within you? Because at that point, you are choosing, you are imposing yourself on your surroundings, not in a bad way, not in a controlling way, but in a giving way. You're becoming more than what your surroundings make you. And I think there's great freedom in that.
Oh, I like that. Freedom, contentment, carrying your weather with you. It's detachment. It's all very Zen. What a weird Christmas discussion.
Hey, I mean, we are the Refinery. We aren't the typical conservative talk, so
that's
it's
true.
good to get into this sort of stuff.
That's true, and you know, okay, we've beaten the Christmas contentment issue to death, but that's not very Christmas spirity of me to say.
Pummeled it like a bully would.
Yeah. There we have it. Now moving on to our second topic, which is more in keeping with what the Refinery is about, which is conservative messaging and trying to figure out how to work around some of the situations we find ourselves in. There was an article that I read, it came out yesterday or today, I don't remember which, by John Hayward. And we live in the age of the bully, and the way he put this article together was pretty brilliant. He started out by speaking about the bullies in our midst that most of us are reading about in the news on the front pages. North Korea bullying our federal government and bullying movie theaters, bullying our large corporations into giving in. Then he mentions Cuba, and Cuba bullying our federal government into approving most favored nation status on them, and in return for nothing. Basically, just saying, 50 years of embargo and you're still a communist country. Oh well, we give up. We'll just treat you like we do everybody else. No big deal. But basically, giving in to Cuba's bullying, and then. It's not just an American problem. It is a worldwide problem. The European Union just recently agreed to delist Hamas as a terrorist organization and treat Hamas like any other group, and they're gearing up towards recognizing Palestine as a country, which will be interesting when that happens. So he started out by demonstrating the global government, the global Western governments giving in to these bullies, and then he explained how it comes about because resistance, because we live kind of in a transactional world where there's no real overarching principle that guides our actions. We look at each particular instance, each particular transaction, and judge it on its own face. And we see this in some of the other instances of bullying, like Mozilla Corporation with Brendan Eich's charitable contributions, with conservative speakers being disinvited from college commencement speeches, and the colleges they'll take each instance of bullying as an independent entity and say, well, in this particular instance, we decided to disinvite Ann Coulter because we didn't want to put our students at risk. And we just wanted to keep everybody calm. We're going to give in to the bullies in this particular situation because the people that they're bullying are conservatives and we don't really like them too much anyway, so we're not really going to put ourselves out defending the conservatives. There's no real overarching principle that guides defending against bullies. And so we've had, taking a step back from global governments giving in to bullies, we look and see that the education system and Hollywood and corporations give in to bullies. And we take a step back from that and we see that on a very individual level, individuals give in to bullies because we don't want to fight back, we don't want to be mean, it's best to keep the peace. And so what we have is we're drawing the line from global government is only doing what the people started. The people started this whole process of when somebody bullies you, just give in, just pay the price and move on to the next thing. And there's no real guiding principle that we're defending when we give into a bully on this particular transaction and that particular transaction. And now we live in a world where free speech is basically gone. Everything is conditional. And we have the heckler's veto. One person makes a complaint and a nativity scene is taken down. One person makes a complaint and the school district changes their calendar from saying it's the Christmas holiday to calling it a winter break.
And just for the record, I had nothing to do with either of those things. That was not me. It was not me.
Different Even though you are a resident atheist.
Different, not me.
I thought that the really interesting thing about this article was how it does illustrate a great familiar left tactic that we haven't probably recognized enough that it's happening. We sort of lurch from event to event sometimes in conservatism without seeing a bigger picture of patterns of left behavior. And I think that by identifying patterns of left behavior, we can begin to develop strategies and responses and tactics that will neutralize them to some degree. And the most important sentence to me in this whole thing was, after the resistance is transactional concept, he says, that means they can win, bullies can win, by raising the cost of resisting above what the victims are willing to pay. And when you were talking about not having any general principle that we're defending when we give up, it's that. It's people that are making the calculation. It's more important to have this than to stand for that principle. And
I'm not willing to stand up for Brendan Ike. I don't like him enough. He's not the most awesome CEO that Mozilla has ever had. We'll be fine without him. So let's just allow him to resign and we'll move on, because the cost of defending against the bully is higher than I'm willing to pay.
And we can see that a lot in everything from events at colleges like you're talking about, or even high schools we're seeing some of this. The loud heckler veto principle is sort of in effect. And lawsuits also are factored in, because who can afford the lawfare fees?
Are we really talking about bullying, though, in its pure sense? And here's what I mean. When I think about bullying on a schoolyard, I think about a kid who backs down. When a kid backs down to bullies, it's because of superior force, and the kid is worried about getting beaten up, and there's great danger in that. But there are two other ways of looking at it. A lot of times, if you're talking, with a like in the case of Sony, or the case of these movie theaters, obviously there was the legal concern, right? They'd be sued if anything happened. But also, at that point, you're also shutting things down because you're worried not about what will happen to you, but what will happen to other people. People who come to your theater, people who might get killed, who might suffer harm because of it. So that's one thing. That's a little different than bullying to me. And by the way, I'm still dead set against all the backing down to bullies that we're seeing. I think it's damaging. I think it's terrible. Okay, but here's the biggest thing I'm seeing that where I don't see this as I don't see all this as bullying or backing down to bullying. What it really is these people agree with the bullies. All right, Europe is led by leftists. Okay, by a lot of leftists. Leftists like Islam for the most part. Oh, they hate getting overrun by it in the end, but they love the fact that Islam wants to control people, we want to control people, and they get along in that way. The almost every case example we just reeled off that you guys were reeling off of backing down were basically left-leaning or leftist leaders backing down to threats that, quite honestly, they don't have big problems with. I mean, Obama is, totally simpatico with Cuba and these types. So I think a lot of it is not just being afraid of them, but rather agreeing with them.
Oh, definitely. But when we're talking about, we're looking at two different things here. You have conservatives getting bullied by, being kept off of college campuses or whatever, and you have students in high schools that are being bullied by administration, et cetera, because they wore a particular shirt on, say, the Cinco de Mayo thing that we're talking about. Conservatives are under attack specifically, and that's a subset of the larger thing, which is allowing bullying tactics to justify what, say, a leftist administration or a leftist country leadership would not admit to going along with. So the bullying becomes sort of cover for them. Even though they agree, they don't want to be seen to agree with certain things and certain tactics, so they would make this the excuse. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Oh, absolutely.
You're saying it's passive-aggressive? Is that what you're saying?
It provides them the cover to do what they want to do, blaming someone that they can distance themselves from, in the political realm, but still support them by caving into them.
Right, but I would also, no, I totally agree. And also, like with a university saying, well, we're not going to let Ann Coulter or some conservative come here because, and it looks like, and they act like they're giving in to bullying. They're not. They agree. They don't want the conservative there. This is a convenient cover. It's a convenient excuse. And what I don't see a lot of is the left refusing to back down to, well, it's a bad example, but refusing to back down to right-wing bullying. Unfortunately, there is virtually no right-wing bullying to back down to. It's not our way. It's not what we do. We believe in individual liberty, not collective control. Okay, people who are bent on collective control are going to be much more predisposed to bullying. So there just aren't a lot of examples of them, not backing down. But in the cases where they do back down, it's constantly with fairly like-minded people.
When you mention that there's not really a lot of those cases, when I think about this bullying concept, and Fishy, this ties into something that you shared on Free Radical Network today, I think at least. It was a Charles Cook piece about the way that the left has kind of done an about-face on the concept of the climate, the negative climate, or the climate of, back when Gabby Giffords got shot by that nut job Jared Loughner, the left was up in arms saying that there's this violent rhetoric coming from the right, and this, I think, is serious bullying going on. They're trying to control our what we say. They're trying to control our speech, and they're saying that we have to change our tone because because of the crosshairs that Sarah Palin was using in her